part of this process is stepping out of your comfort zone and going to new places that you've never been. So that's kind of a push and a pull as far as our lifestyle is seeing new places, but still going back and enjoying the ones that you've been to.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. My name is Roger Williams, and as the host of this show, I will be interviewing guests, people just like you that are crossing items off their own bucket list. My hope is that by hearing these stories, you will be inspired and empowered to cross items off your own bucket list. When you find something impactful for your journey, we invite you to share the episode with one other person and leave an honest rating or review of the show. This is an amazing way for you to gift those feelings of inspiration and joy to others. Now let's start crossing it off together. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Crossing It Off podcast. I am excited and interested about my next guest item that she crossed off her list. Her name is Brooke Happe, spelled Happe, just so you know. And she is intentional, simple living, a dreamer, and an action taker. Brooke, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell our listeners, what's the first thing you crossed off your list?
Sell everything to travel.
Okay, that in itself sounds very daunting. And so before we get to the logistics of that, let's talk about your backstory, your origin story as a superhero who's done this. What drove you? What was going through your head? What was happening in your life before you decided, I'm going to put this on my list?
Yeah, I've always followed my dreams and kind of listened to my heart. So I had my doctorate in physical therapy, went to school. That was kind of my dream. Started to have children, and my heart was just calling me to be home. So I, put my career aside, started staying home with the kids. I just felt like my husband and I were chasing this journey of our dreams, but missing everything in between and missing that journey of life. And so we had a camper that we would go on trips on the weekends or, maybe during the holidays, take a extended vacation during the kids' school breaks. And when we were just learning about RVs, we would watch YouTube, and we saw that there were other families that were just, that sold everything to travel. And I thought, we live in Iowa. It's cold. I don't love the winters. What if we just went south for the winter? Just sold everything. And I brought the idea up to my husband, and we decided to do it. We wanted to say at least we tried it, and never
Right.
say, well, I wish we would have done that. So
Yeah, I have that moment in my life. There was a point where I had my children and looked at my then wife and said, just a year, let's just do this for a year. Let's just sell everything and we'll homeschool the kids out of the van, in the RV, and let's make a 50 state thing and see if we can get the kids to meet every governor. And it was just like, nope, that's not, it's a very daunting task. So how old were the kids when you started?
they were, let me think. So it was back in 2019 when we sold everything. So they were 6, 4, and 2.
2 years old. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so they all had summer birthdays. So they were kind of approaching like 3, 5, 7.
Okay.
But yeah, so my daughter has basically grown up in the RV. She doesn't really remember our house.
Wow. What was their response, especially the older ones, when you all came to them and said, hey, look, you're no longer going to have a real bed? What was how did they feel about that?
Yeah, I think communication was really a big thing, and it still is for our family. We took a trip in December of 2018 during school break and just said, we're going to try and take this 21-day trip to Florida. Let's see how it goes. And we told the kids, we were kind of thinking about this idea, and I'll never forget the look on my son's face when we saw the Welcome to Florida sign, with the palm trees, and just the awe in his face. I didn't need to know how the rest of the trip was going to go. I knew as like a parent, this was kind of meant for us, and that they will get this awe and this joy every single day. So they were so happy to see the beach and, to be able to play when back home in Iowa, it was, cold and rainy. And so, they loved the idea, and I think just part of the communication was a big thing.
So having done it at least for a little bit of time, probably prep them. It's like, oh yeah, that's old hat. I don't, there's not a lot of change. I think children are a lot of times change is the issue. It's not what you're doing. It's just, if you change, at least for my kids, there was, I had a daughter that every night she'd be like, what's going on tomorrow? What are we doing? So some of that, adventurous stuff for her wouldn't really work. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like they had some experience doing this before you decided to sell everything. Go through that process with me. Selling everything sounds like, did you really sell everything, or did you just pack everything into a cubicle someplace and come back to it, or did you really like go full bore to like just sell everything?
When we sold our home in 2019, we had six, like, Rubbermaid storage containers. So we got down to six storage containers. And then this past summer, we got down to two. So the only thing that's really left are like photo albums and things, some of the little kids' clothes that I just can't quite get rid of. But yeah, I mean, pretty much, we pretty much sold everything. It was a process. And when we actually got back from that trip in 2018, I started to just simplify and downsize things. And I couldn't believe the less stress, for me, as far as like having to pick things up, but also the way that my kids played. When we simplified the toys and really, kept what they liked and what created their, sparked their imagination, I saw a huge change in their behavior. Our house didn't change. It was still our large dream house, that we, had achieved and had really dreamt about. But it was just what we surrounded ourselves with that really just changed their behavior. It was pretty incredible.
And so, what kind of system did you use for that process? Like, I consider myself somewhat of a minimalist. I have 1,200 comic books, so I can't like totally claim that, But how did you like Marie Kondo everything, or was it just like, what system did you use to become more simplified?
Yeah, I started with anything that was duplicated that we didn't need. So like, we didn't need our china and like our everyday, silverware and utensils and plates and things like that. And so then once we took all of the duplicated items, we separated it into if it was functioning or not still. So like, were there broken pieces, or maybe it was worn or didn't fit, got rid of those things. And then we broke it down into, is this serving us, joy and purpose? And will it be multifunctional for the RV? Because not only is it a space thing in an RV, it's also weight. So we had to kind of go through, some things and say, is this too heavy, to bring along with us? So that's kind of how we broke it down with regards to kind of getting rid of everything.
Did you have resistance from the kids or your husband, for that matter, of when you're looking at something and going, no, really, this needs to go? What was that process like?
Yeah, for the kids, what I did was I got all of their toys out. I mean, our toy room and everything, I put it all out for like a week, and I just kind of observed what they played with and moved things to the side that weren't being played with. And I'd put it in a box and set it in like the back of the the vehicle, just to see like, okay, if it's like physically, if it's gone from their sight, do they miss it? And over a week, they didn't talk about it. It sat there another week. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of out of their mind. It's not sparking their creativity. They're not looking to play with it. So let's get rid of it. So I kind of did it secretively, but not, not real, not to be mean.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a very, very doable thing. Again, kids, it's change abruptly is not always good change for them. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I saw somebody that once they packed up their whole entire house, put it in boxes, and then for a month they knew what was in every single box. When they needed something, they would go get it out of the box. And then
Mm-hmm.
if about the end of the 30 days, if they hadn't taken something out of the box, all those boxes just went. So there's definitely processes you can use for that. So you sell everything. and
Hmm.
you're in this mode. How did you all decide as a family or as a couple? How did you decide, okay, which direction do we turn now? Do we turn left? Do we turn right? Or do we keep going straight? What was the decision making process for where you went?
Yeah. So, for us to sell everything, we were still chasing, kind of our dreams, and we had our
Mhm.
careers. I run my own business. My husband travels during for work. So part of the decision for this was to just simplify life and kind of take out some of those expectations that society, puts on you with how you're supposed to live. And so for us, we look at family commitments first, where do we need to be for family commitments, and then work commitments. And then from there we kind of decide how far can we go between, here and there for what we have for our commitments, and try to explore new things. I think the biggest challenge is that we find so many places that we really enjoy and you want to go back to them. But part
Mm,
of this process is stepping out of your comfort zone and going to new places that you've never been. So that's kind of a push and a pull as far as our lifestyle is, seeing new places but still going back and enjoying the ones that you've been to.
as the kids get older, are they getting more involved in that process? What's that like for you as a parent?
Yes, yeah, they help plan the routes. That's kind of part of also our homeschool routine is researching, the cities and the areas, that we're going to. And so we kind of make like a bucket list of places that we want to go and see. So yeah, they're definitely involved throughout the whole process.
They're definitely not having quite as much of or at least a Google Map experience. At least they're actually using the map, using the map,
Yes.
and that's a teachable tool.
Yes.
It's almost as dead as cursive, I think,
Yeah.
knowing how to navigate, because the Google machine does it for you. That's definitely a huge change in lifestyle. But what's been a change as far as relationships inside your family, like between you and your husband and parenting children? Has there been changes in what those look like?
Yes, definitely. I mean, when you surround yourself with just things that are almost just a necessity, it really opens your mind and your life to how little you actually need. And it's really the relationships and the people that are around you that really fuel your fire and fuel your life. So that has, I think, been the biggest thing, is just the intentional relationships and the time spent, because we're still, kind of, we're busy. We didn't quit our jobs, and we still have these daily commitments. It's not like a vacation every day. So, just making time for each other and, experiencing life on those moments that we do have.
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your list. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show. Yeah, you all started this pre-pandemic, so you were, I'm sure, hopefully you were influential in other people as so many people gravitated towards this during the pandemic. I'm just sitting here thinking about, I have a partner and we live together and we have a house, we have a space where we live, and she has an office and I have an office, and we do things, and our biggest distraction is we have a dog that has needs throughout the day. How has that been in such close quarters for you as far as an RV goes with three children to manage what you just talked about, that you still have lives, you still have work? How has that been, making sure that you meet their needs as well as meeting the needs you have for producing income and doing those things?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's all a balancing game. There's no, work life balance, to be honest. I think part of it too is it goes back to the communication, and this is why we chose this lifestyle, communicating that with our kids, but then also having them involved, like, because I run my own business, they're helping weigh the products, they're helping ship the products, they're, doing as much of the life skills and the things that, that will make an impact on their life. So, getting them involved as much as possible, because that also helps speed things along and help get my work done a little bit too. So just getting them involved, being intentional with our time, and just letting them know what expectations are, right? We chose this lifestyle for flexibility, to include things in our life that give us joy and that, fuel our life. And so for us, having some sort of schedule and knowing what to expect, both for us and for the kids, helps. In the mornings we do school, in the afternoons there will be some work commitments. You guys will have to have some quiet time. So we all, when things come up, no one likes to, it always throws everybody off. So I think just having those expectations and being intentional with letting them know what needs to be done and what the expectations are is important.
I'm curious, when the kids started, they were fairly young. How much do you rely on technology for them, as far as school and, socialization, or those kind of what we claim to be socialization now? But how does that affect their space?
Overall, we are, I don't want to say electronic free, because we do use it, but they don't have their own devices. They're not on it during the day or anything like that. So we use it, as like a resource if we want. Like today we were talking about a football stadium that's going to get like imploded. And so we watched a video on, how they do it and things like that. So we do use technology for education and things, but they don't have their own devices. They have friends on the road that we meet up with, and in passing, and they can communicate on my phone with them. But we see so many kids on the road, and I think that's kind of a myth, or something that people were very worried about, was like, how are they going to socialize? It has helped them step out of their comfort zone. And when they meet a child, it's like, you're a child, I'm a child. What are your interests? These are my interests. And they just connect. And there's no like, I should go to this group or I should go to that group. It's just they instantly connect. And it's funny, kind of the things that they talk about. Do you go to regular school? Do you homeschool? Do you travel? Because a lot of the places that we go, we're staying in like a campground or an RV resort. And so people may be traveling just for a weekend or visiting someone. And so it's helped them, I think, become, and I mean, set themselves up to be a good person all around, and just, treat people for people.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine, as adults, when we travel, that can happen. So to have that experience so young, it will definitely benefit your kids. I hope people tell you that. I hope people encourage you, that you've done a good thing, for sure. Tell me about your personal life throughout this. What was the transformational thing that's happened to you as a woman, and then maybe as a spouse or a mom?
Yeah, it's really made me realize that we live in almost seasons of life.
Mm.
It took me a really long time, when I was stepping away from my career, to accept the fact that I had worked pretty much my entire life to get, that degree and to work. And then I wasn't, I don't want to say throwing it away, but I wasn't going to use my degree. And I struggled with that for a long time, on
Mm.
how do you work for something your entire life and then just step away from it? But I realized that was for a season of life, and that my kids are only going to be small for another season of life. And so it's really just kind of made me really focus on the time, that we are living in right now, and that things that fit for this season of life may not work for the next. And that's totally okay. You just have to really just surround yourself with what's working now, and accept that things might not work, for the next season. So
Yeah,
I think that, yeah.
yeah,
And so that's just really helped overall with change and everything that has happened.
yeah. One of the things I talk about a lot is the rigidness of what sometimes people, who put together a bucket list. It's like, oh, I have to do these things. I have to do these things, and I constantly remind people it's a living document. And
Right.
so you can make the choice to put something on your list now that may not fit 5 years from now or
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now. Like I've had Burning Man on my list for a long time, and I'm just like, you know what? getting to be 52, and I don't, I don't know if spending 9 days in the desert and with dust in every crack of my body is necessarily what I want to do.
Yes.
And so it's okay to say, oh well, I had that, but I don't have to do that. It's not just because I put it on this list doesn't mean I have to do it. And I like that there's seasons. There's season for everything,
Hmm.
and that's awesome. If you were to run into somebody who was not experiencing life as you are right now and was talking about, I'm thinking about doing this, besides, yeah, you should just do it. And the things that you've already spoken about, like what's one piece of advice that you would give them to help them try to figure out how to do this as well?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, expect the unexpected because, I mean, it's like a house going down an interstate, right? I mean, things are going to happen, things are going to break, but just like in a home, right? I mean, it's just a little bit different. But I usually tell people to like rent an RV and try a longer experience before you go through the process. While we don't miss anything that we've sold, I don't like regret selling everything. I think, you know, looking back, would we have maybe kept like other pieces of furniture or something like that, in the storage? But I also think that we're going to live a different life in that next season if we do own a home, that I don't know if that furniture or pieces of item would actually give us joy and fit. So I know a lot of people, say, I'm going to do it for a year, I'm going to sell everything and then go back. If that was the case, I would say just get a storage unit, keep the minimal stuff because it's going to cost so much more
Right.
to buy,
Sure.
buy everything again. So
Nice. Tell me one of your experiences over your time of doing this that brought you the most joy.
it was in Glacier National Park. We have because we pull a 42-foot fifth wheel, we have a big 450 dually. So we couldn't get down going down the Sun Road. So we had to pull off, and it was just kind of, everyone was a bit disappointed. We thought maybe we could fit, but we just didn't want to risk it. So we pulled off, and there was like this little old cottage, and the kids were just throwing rocks and trying to skip rocks into Lake McDonald. And it was just this like reassuring sense. I can't even describe it, that this, was kind of meant to happen, and everything will all work out in the end. And so there was nothing like, yes, the view was spectacular, but we weren't doing anything super exciting. It was just in the moment and just being present and still, that I'll never ever forget.
That's awesome. I love that. I embrace the times when I've traveled where I get to do that. So I understand, and I'm sure lots of other people do as well. Brooke, what's the next thing on your bucket list that you want to cross off?
50 states. We are
Oh,
at 27. Yeah, 50 states is our goal. So we've hit 27 and hope to add as many more as we can.
do you have a time frame for that, or is it just we're just going at it and chipping away?
Yep, just trying. Ideally, we want to hit all 48 states with our RV, and then obviously we can't. I mean, we could go to Alaska. We kind of go back and forth on if we want to drive because it's such a beautiful drive, but it is also a
Long
drive.
one.
So
Yeah, it's a long
yes,
one.
yep. So we don't have a time frame, just as life presents itself.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm to 48, so I have two more to go. And as I've looked through it and seen it, it's amazing that like the average American only visits 12 states in their lifetime. So
Hmm.
your kids have already doubled the average Americans visit the states
Yes.
before hitting puberty. So that's a pretty cool thing to be able to provide them, I think. What states out there that you really want to go to that you haven't done yet?
Uh, the entire like Northeast, Maine. I've never been up to the Northeast at all. So it'll be a new experience for me and my children. So
Mhm.
we want to hit it during kind of the fall. So that would be the area.
And have you been to Washington State?
I have been personally, but we have not with the
Okay.
RV and with the kids. So yeah, even like, so we haven't hit Washington, Oregon, California because we want to allot like a good amount of time because
Mhm.
we know we will love it.
That is so awesome. Brooke, thank you so much for being here. Where can folks find more about you on the interwebs, and where do you, what other stuff you're doing?
Yes, you can follow our journey on social media at Be Happy, so B.E Happy Happe, and then our blog and also like our Be Happy business is at www.behappydesigns.com.
Nice. I will make sure all those get in the show notes. Brooke, thank you so much for being here. Good luck on hitting all 50. It is a milestone for sure, and a very nice gift you're giving your children. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.